So I prepared short presentation and I have a short film for you before we start discussing. So I put this humility, you see, this is the color of humility is green, deep green and all the kinds of green you can see here. So humility, says the mother, is adorable in its simplicity. And this is the grass, you know, this drop grass, which is the symbolic representation in nature of this quality of humility. It doesn't claim any truth or place in beauty, but it is very beautiful if we look closer to it. Yes? It is not as beautiful as rose, mother says, but rose is imposing its beauty. And this one is staying in the shadow, does not show its magnificent creation. And it is very strong and very resilient. So um, if you look at the sign, mother sign, we can see that humility is the second one in the row after sincerity. Uh, there's somebody else is there, so let me take the person in. Dawn is coming. Okay, she will join us here. So if you look, they all belong to Maheshwari, kind of. They're kind of assigned under her influence, and they represent these two major qualities: profound, because sincerity is recognition of one's own truth, whereas humility is um, not giving in for other forces to clog and to block that recognition. So they are both needed. One is more active sincerity, and the other is more perceptive, as it were. But of course, humility has also active part in it. So these two, from pure blue to dark green or blue green, these are the fundamental qualities of the vastness and purity. And we will see all the elements of this quality in this presentation. And I discussed them. I put here sincerity one slide, which was important for us. We didn't cover it in the last time, to just to show you mm, how deeply mother thinks about it. And I mentioned it in a passing, but here is the quotation proper. These last few days, I had an opportunity to work on the proportion between the expression and the fact. There is always misalignment, yeah, between the two. Let me explain. First, you have the experience, then comes the expression of that experience, and the proportion between the divine simplicity, which is sincerity, of the experience and the realizing power of the expression is what gives the measure of perfect sincerity. So we should not put more power or less power of expression onto what is happening within us. It has to be perfectly measured with what we are in that moment of time. And that defines the sincerity. The ratio between the two must be perfectly true. I saw it, I saw in that almost a key to assess sincerity. So if we speak about this, how we could really define it, that would be the measurement, the way how we define. You don't have to be totally true to your divine self, yes? You can be where you are in that moment of time and be sincere to that moment of time of yourself. If you express it with a corresponding power of expression. Do not exaggerate your state, or do not belittle it, or do not twist it, or put it into some context where you want to get some results out of the situation. And that is insincerity. And somewhere even Mother says, try to be sincere even for 5 minutes and you will see how difficult it is. Because we are constantly manipulating with our state, with our knowledge, to get some better position within given context. Yeah? In our mind, in our word, in our relations, it's constantly happening, even without us even knowing, constantly adjusting it for some benefit for ourselves. So, humility, the true humility consists in knowing that the supreme consciousness, the supreme will alone exists. And that is the I is not, this is I. And that the I is not I as a separate entity which manipulates with information and everything is actually not totally true. So recognizing it is that humility. I am not in charge of myself, of my thoughts, of my. So all that, what I think I am in charge, as I started today presentation, that humility is the most unwanted quality of in the Western culture, especially. You have to own it, to to go for it, to show it, to assess, to always self-assertion is the quality which gives you the place in the context, but not this type. So to be humble means for the mind, the vital, and the body never to forget that without the divine they know nothing, are nothing, and can do nothing. Without the divine, they are nothing but ignorance, chaos, and impotence. The divine alone is truth, life, power, love, and felicity. These are, of course, statements for people who seek spiritual fulfillment in their life. It's not for all when the mother speaks of the divine. But for some people, they can substitute this word with another word, yeah, like perfection, truth, and so on. All of these love. So, what is interesting, how Mother defines humility. Um, and from there, we will start looking into it more precisely. Humility is that state of consciousness in which, whatever the realization, you know the infinite is still in front of you. You may gain or realize great powers and knowledge and position in the society, be the king, but you know that you are just a beginning of the beginnings, that infinite is still in front of you. The rare quality of selfless admiration about which I have spoken to you is but another aspect of true humility. Notice, selfless admiration of the creation, of the divine here, yes, is another aspect of true humility. It kind of points us to the next quality already, to the gratitude, selfless admiration. So humility kind of incorporates, that's why I was showing the sign, two qualities: the sincerity, knowing that only the divine is, and the selfless admiration of the divine. So they're both somehow packed in humility. For it is sheer arrogance that refuses to admire and is complacent about its own petty achievements, forgetting the infinite, which is always ahead of it. However, you need to be humble not only when you have nothing substantial or divine in you, but even when you are on the path of transformation. And it's a very big word for the mother, path of transformation, when you started to change your mental, vital, and physical bodies are already under the influence of the divine. Paradoxical though it may sound, the divine who is absolutely perfect is at the same time absolutely humble. Humble as nothing else can ever be. He is not occupied in admiring himself, though he is all, the all. He ever seeks to find himself in what is not himself. That is why he has created in his own being what seems to be a colossal not himself, this phenomenal world. He has passed into a form in which he has to discover endlessly in time the infinite contents of that which he possesses entirely in the eternal consciousness. So here in time and space, he tries to discover the infinity and the all the powers which are in his infinite and eternal consciousness. And that requires the utmost, the perfect, as Mother says, the absolute humility. He is absolutely humble because he is not claiming his superiority over that part of in himself which is not him. He is not claiming that superiority. He could have done that. Yeah? He is much superior to everything which he has created, and still he behaves as if there is no difference between them. And this is the quality of humility, to see in everything the divine presence or the divine potential, rather, potentiality of the divine creation. I find this statement profound because humble, he, the divine, is humble as nothing else can ever be. So humility in this statement is something we will never achieve, really. Yeah, there is always not enough humility, as it were. You cannot be totally humble because then you have to be the divine, yeah? Totally the divine in all the aspects of your being. And that is the aim. I wanted to say the same with sincerity. Mother says sincerity is never enough. Sincerity leads us to the divine existence, to the divine purity. There it is absolute. It's never enough. However sincere you may be, however humble you may be, it's always only a level of humility. And these are the powers, that's what I wanted to say. These are the powers of the divine by which he manifests in the world. Because we cannot exhaust them. They are driving the whole world in this way. All right. I am thinking about humility these days because I was preparing this presentation. I noticed this shift from sincerity to gratitude, and both are present in humility. And here I just spelled it out in this three um, foundational kind of qualities of humility. One is knowing, other is doing, or actively manifesting, and the other is applying that action into the world. So, in knowing that the divine alone is constantly relying on the divine, is a perceptive part of humility. So, if we can imagine that we have to perceive it or to be receptive of it, or how to say, passively, consciously passive of the divine, that would be humility. So we give ourselves to the divine. In rejecting egoistic demands and cravings of a lower nature and stepping back from the preferences, constantly emptying oneself for a new knowledge and experience. This is also an important part which I want to come back. Acknowledging and ever seeking what one knows not is an active part of humility. So it has an active part. We have to act to be humble within ourselves constantly, rejecting arrogance, rejecting self-assertion, rejecting emptying oneself from one's own knowledge already, from one's own achievements, removing them, coming again to 0 point where we know nothing in order to know again. And that is the activity of humility. Thus, the egoistic movements cannot occupy the inner space of our being, keeping it pure and open to the divine fulfillment, which creates the supreme protection. This is interesting that protection is the result of humility. The divine protects us because we give ourselves to him. Yeah? So there is this avatumam, Avatuvaktaram mantra, Avatuvaktaram. Protect me, protect the speaker, protect the speaker. And if we analyze this root Avatu, we will see that it is actually fulfill me, fill me from within. Yeah? And by filling me from within, actually protect me. So to be filled from within, we need to empty ourselves. We need to prepare to vacate the space. Yeah? to for the divine to occupy it. And also there is one particular thing which I am very fond of thinking is that we have to seek that which we don't know. Acknowledgement and even seeking after that one knows not. So because if we are seeking only what we know, we will be always in this full cup um, situation. We will never be able to receive from the infinity new and fresh input. Yes? To receive new and fresh input, we have to deny ourselves constantly. We have to empty the space and open it to this moment in time, to the divine. And then we truly know. Yeah? And knowledge comes and goes. It doesn't stay. It is not something you can acquire and hold on to. Knowledge is a state of consciousness. And for that, we need this perfect humility. And then the third, in applying this constant and conscious vigilance, Mother speaks about this active vigilance, lies the power of absolute plasticity and adaptability to any given situation, the power of ease and joy of belonging to the divine. And this will culminate in gratitude in the next quality. And the ability to face any attack of the hostile forces and let them through without any harm done. We become like transparent, as it were. They cannot notice us anymore. We are not solidified. We are not self-considered. There is nothing to hate upon because the hostile forces were meant, they were created for the purpose to hit out of us all the darkness, all this stubbornness, all things which should not endure. So can you imagine you remove them yourself? So there is nothing to hit. There will be no hit. And that is the secret of protection by the divine. They cannot hit the divine. They can hit only our egos, our demands, desires, preferences, dogmas. They can hit, but not this absolute acceptance of the divine. There are some aspects of humility which I wanted to discuss with you. So in Sanskrit, I put this word namah. Namah is actually surrender, bowing down, yeah, making pranam, as it were. Vinamrata is in Hindi, and also they assign it to Sanskrit. I don't like the word, but it is from the same root, nam. Yeah. Namah is Namo Namaha, is always used in all the mantras. It's my surrender, my kind of obeisance, not obeisance, my offering to be the ground for the divine. So abolition of egoistic perception, submission, surrender. From here, plasticity, adaptability, openness, durability, resilience by softness. So we are not fighting against like wall to wall. We are not fighting. We are softly avoiding any hit. Yeah? Kindness, forgiveness, compassion. These are all synonyms or the outcomes of humility. We never think of these qualities in that way. That's why it is kind of amazing. And the list is open, really open. Being all by being none. And here I wanted to kind of comment on this. Being all by being none, it means being all by not being something separate against someone or something. And that is the highest realization of it is in nirvana or the silent Brahman. Yeah. And I wanted to read the passage from Savitri where the voice of the Lord speaks to Savitri in the canto which is called Nirvana and all negating absolute. He says to her, consent to be nothing and none. Dissolve time's work. Cast off thy mind. Step back from form and name. Annul thyself, that only God may be. This is the highest level of humility for us. I wanted to speak also about false humility, which is a very common thing. I just listed few here. You can open the list. You can add many more. False acknowledgement, praising others, white lies, belittling oneself, showing off and playing humble, timid. And behind it, always arrogance, egoism, selfishness. These are anti-humility movements. Arrogance, egoism, selfishness, righteousness, narcissism, dogmatism, self-assertion, self-promotion, self-praise, disrespect and humiliation of others, etc. So these are anti-qualities, or qualities which kind of highlight the humility, what humility is. So here I would like to stop. I have several stories and film for you, but I can show you the film, what we prepared. Yeah. It is quite nice in a way.
Alone in the vastness of the ocean, flowing together with the transparency of sky. Nothing to hide, freedom and height, being oneself. The waters changed to blue and green. Soon we will reach the coast, another page in the discovery of truth. The waves of grass are so similar, like the oceans, so humble, modest, open to the divine. Tiny bays of self, a voyager upon eternity's seas, lost in the scattering stars. A seeker of the islands of the blessed, he leaves the last lands, crosses the ultimate seas. He turns to eternal things, his symbol quest. He sails through life and death and other life. He travels on through waking and through sleep. A power is on him from her occult force that ties him to his own creation's fate. And never can the mighty traveler rest, and never can the mystic voyage cease, till the nescient dusk is lifted from man's soul, and the morns of God have overtaken his night. As long as nature lasts, he too is there. For this is sure, that he and she are one. There is a truth to know, a work to do. Her play is real, a mystery he fulfills. There is a plan in the mother's deep world whim, a purpose in her vast and random game. The adoration of the Divine Mother is in my heart. My only will is to aspire for her presence and to serve. Her guidance is to find her secret powers that can lead the world. Where is that bridge between her sincerity and the grace of humility? Sincerity is the first key. To belong to the divine, to live only for the divine, to will only what the divine wills, to express only the divine will, to have no other source of energy than that of the divine. How to become that? How to aspire for sincerity? How to prepare and concentrate on that idea, more and more diving into the depth of our true being? How to become aware of one's own resistance in thought, feeling, and body, and to offer it to the divine in us. To pray for a sincere flame to be kindled on every level of our being. We have traveled so many roads, but we are still there at the beginning of our journey. O Mother, only you, you, you. Please send me your force to proceed further, to hold on and follow the sunlit path. Oh, please bring your light, your conscious power to us that will free us from all narrowness of ego and pride, that we will be able to open ourselves to your grace and constant guidance. Please kindle the light of humility in our hearts.
We must learn that whatever our efforts, whatever our struggles, whatever even our victories, compared with the path still to be traversed, is nothing. Do not think yourself big or small, very important or very unimportant, for we are nothing in ourselves. We must only live to become what the divine wills of us. True humility consists in knowing that the Supreme Consciousness, the Supreme Will alone exists, and the I is not. The more we advance on the path, the more modest we become, and the more we see that we have done nothing in comparison to what remains to be done. To be humble means for the mind, the vital, and the body never to forget that without the divine, they know nothing, are nothing, and can do nothing. Without the divine, they are nothing but ignorance, chaos, and impotence. The divine alone is truth, life, power, love, felicity. Therefore, the mind, the vital, and the body must learn and feel once and for all that they are wholly incapable of understanding and judging the divine, not only in his essence, but also in his action and manifestation. This is the only true humility, and with it come quiet and peace.